comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willis. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willis. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Happy 4th of July, everybody. As I sit here, I feel an angst more pronounced that I felt during the Obama administration and the Tea Party's attack on our country when we attempted to do positive things for the American people. It is then that I wrote a book called As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And as I feel these feelings, I remember exactly why I did it. And then went and reread some of the pertinent chapters. And you know what? I want to read you something here. I want us to remember who we are, who others see us as, and understand why it is something that we've got to fight for, why this is much worse than under the Tea Party days. I'm not a liberal scholar. I'm not a conservative scholar. What I am is a concerned American citizen that, while always politically aware, did not become engaged until the troubling times that broke my last straw with our country under the tutelage of a corrupt administration that decided to invade a country that had nothing to do with the vicious attack we suffered on September 11, 2001. While I wanted to speak out forcefully during the build up to the invasion, I felt impotent. These were times when anyone who criticized the administration was subject to repercussions overtly and, unfortunately, in many instances, covertly. I felt that I was back in Panama during the early days of the government overthrow of Omar Torrijos Herrera, when citizens were scared to say anything critical about the government. Interesting enough, the genesis of what I considered the progressive demise of America began with what many taunt as an era of optimism under President Reagan, as when President Reagan ascended to the throne with rhetoric that, as incoherent as it was, appealed to many, including myself. I had just arrived in Texas to start my education and loved the semblance of a leader that seemed ready to reward those who wanted to get ahead without government or any other obstacle. As I see it, we are at a crossroad. We must decide if we're going to continue our ill-fated move, whose outcome is evident in every aspect of our life, from an obscenely disproportionate distribution of wealth to a free trade paradigm that will force a lowering of standards for 95% of Americans as our manufacturing and professional service base continue its migration to foreign slave labor markets. I was born in Panama, Central America. I was always exposed to American history, American government, and American culture, as my father and his father worked most of their lives in an area in Panama called the Canal Zone. This was a strip of land 5 miles wide on either side of the Panama Canal that was governed by the Americans. An interesting fact is that I was born in the same hospital as Senator John McCain, Cocosolo Hospital, of course, with much less pampering. Panamanians worked in certain areas for the Americans were either required or had the option to live in Canal Zone. Given my father's job as a fireman, we eventually lived there. As such, my first 10 years of schooling was in the Latin American schools in the Canal Zone, where we were educated in both English and Spanish, as opposed to the American schools whose students were taught solely in English in effect, a transposition of America on foreign soil. While the Latin American schools on the Canal Zone did not have the amenities of the American schools, we had advantages that did not become evident until the schools were integrated during my last 2 years of high school. The Latin American school's basic curriculum required Panamanian geography, civics, and history, American geography, civics, and history, and world geography and history. Moreover, each subject could be taught in either English or Spanish. I still remember having to remember the 9 provinces of Panama and their capital cities. We now have 10 provinces, the 50 states of the United States, and the respective capitals and the capitals of every darn country in the world. Luckily, then we treated the Soviet Union, Yugoslavia, and Czechoslovakia each as one country, saving learning 20 plus more capitals. Inasmuch as the standard of living afforded Panamanians living in the Canal Zone was substandard in comparison to that of the Americans, it was higher than most Panamanians. This bought Americans a certain loyalty from Panamanians living in the Canal Zone, as well as a loyalty for those who aspire to get a job on the Canal Zone to improve their standard of living. I remember a particular story my father told me that makes this point. My parents lived in Colon, a city on the Atlantic coast that bordered the Canal Zone. Riots broke out in the city, and my father, working for the Americans, was manning one of the fire trucks to hose down the rioters to prevent them from getting into the Canal Zone. The rioters began threatening the Panamanians working on behalf of the Americans. At that point, many Panamanians working for the fire department convinced the Americans to provide housing, and with that, many benefits afforded the Americans in shopping and other services. From that time, I became cognizant of there being an America. I have only known it to be revered not only by me, but by most people I knew, Panamanian or foreign. This was not a blind reverence. We were all aware of the evils suffered by the Native American slaves, Chinese, and others at the hand of America. We, however, understood that America was atoning, and the reality is no country, ethnicity, or race had a monopoly on the mistreatment of others. America was respected for its power. Moreover, there was great admiration of many of its strong leaders, the President Abraham Lincoln, President Theodore Roosevelt, President Franklin Roosevelt, President John Kennedy, Reverend Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, George Washington Carver, and a few other true American heroes. My maternal grandfather emigrated to the United States in the 1950s. He had not returned to Panama until sometime in the 1970s, when I was really young. To this day, I remember picking up his shoes, looking at the soles, and telling him, "Imagine these shoes walked in the United States." Such were the feelings one had for this land. In 1976, I wrote a song, America, for the bicentennial celebration of America's independence that was performed by the Dynamites, a band I formed with 3 of my best friends, Roberto Lewis, Alexis Goodrich, and Henry Soley. Our high school participated in the celebrations and had many in the Canal Zone government present for the function. The lyrics started with the familiar lyrics of America the Beautiful chorus and then moved into our celebration of America. It went something like this: America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to sign sea. Then it started: America, happy birthday to you. We are proud to know you are 200 years. We know that you see you're the land of the free, a land we all love from sea to shining sea. Oh, America, you know we really love America. It's the nation of the free. Oh, America, it is the nation we all love. Your United States, we all contemplate a life we all love, a life we dream of. That's the kind of reverence folks all over the world had for the country. It is important that as Americans, we realize that contrary to the narrative we hear mostly on the right, radio and television stations, the America most of the world knew in the 20th century post World War II was not an America that foreigners hated because of their freedom. In fact, America was the country most revered. America was the country most wanted to emulate. America was the country that made things happen. America was skyscrapers, NASA, Skylab, Grand Canyon, Motown, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, A Horn of Plenty, Hollywood, New York, Ford, Buick, Plymouth. America made things. America innovated. The best from the rest of the world did what it took to get here, not to become filthy rich, but because America had the resources, the vision, the character that allowed anyone to make it with their work. America was and is a country in which the sum of its parts, unlike any other country in the world, is what made it strong. With all of its faults, it is that synergy, the composite mental power and diversity from peoples from all over the world that has given it all the resources that made it great. It is the marginalization of the vast majority of these resources that will dictate its demise if left to the misguided efforts of the right wing. And this struggle has been going on for a very long time. And I tell you one thing specifically. All of those who have immigrated to this country and became American citizens will not allow those who haven't a clue in what America had transitioned itself to be to ever get a foothold and take over and make this country all that it was never designed to be. So folks, it's 4th of July as I talk today. Many folks are concerned. Many folks are scared. Many folks are concerned that MAGA will be taking over our beautiful country. Many are scared that we're going to get King Trump. Well, starting from the immigrants that are over here and the well-positioned, natively born Americans after 1776 and beyond. It won't happen. And you know why? Because we have faith. We've gone through the Red Revolution. We've gone through so much over the years and we've overcome. And it's on you, it's on me, it's on all of us to make sure that we continue on the path we've been on. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. And that class warfare means the class who loves America, the class who continues to build America against those who would ensure not its demise, but its descendancy into indentured servitude for the rest of us as just a few flourish. We won't let it happen. Jacques Van Bebba. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Boto. I've got a full page written off your latest newsletter.
Let's go for it.
I'm gonna let her rip. Okay.
Let her rip.
Yes, the super rich are taking full advantage of the working class. Anytime you hear record profits, it's a sign. Those record profits were made off the hard work of the working class. Are the workers going to continue to accept this treatment? At some point, the workers will revolt. When it comes to beating back these fascist policies the super rich are using on the people, the solution is simple. Quit paying the people who are enslaving you. We have to slow the money moving up the chain by not spending to send the message up the chain we've had enough. Slow down consumption of goods and services, auto loans, home loans, save your money. When they see the consumers are not spending, that sends a message. When people start canceling their insurance, sends a message to big healthcare. When people stop paying their taxes, it sends a bigger message.
That is 100% right. It sends a message. And you know what, Jack? It's interesting because I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic what happened. People stayed home. People didn't go to restaurants. People weren't doing anything. And we were at a state of panic, the corporatocracy that is, because they knew one thing, that was an inflection point. And they knew that when we came back, things could either stay the same or things could be different. An article written by Les Leopold, which at Common Dreams, one of the progressive rags that I like to go to because they cover things that are really of interest to the working class, the middle class. So he wrote an article titled "Pillaging by the Super Rich Will Continue Until the Working Class Revolts." And yes, the super rich is concerned that the working class will revolt. And it's one of the reasons they invest so heavily into misleading us. They invest so heavily into us fighting each other. They are the ones that do a whole lot of that to make sure we fight each other. So here's how he starts. He says, there comes a time in the history of a nation when extreme inequality turns into pillage. If economic power is concentrated, so is political power, and the wealthy are able to do whatever they damn well please. They can lie, cheat, and steal because they know they won't be held accountable. And that's what they've been doing. Lying to you, stealing from you, and understanding that there are no consequences. And who is the biggest impersonation of no consequences for doing wrong, for stealing, for lying, for cheating? The current or the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, is actually proving that statement. He's lied continuously about what his record was as a president. He's lied about just everything before he got into the presidency. He's lied about his wealth. He's cheated people out of their monies by creating a false university. He's cheated his 501c3, his charitable organization, for taking the money that people donate to it for himself. He has pilfered the working class as people came and worked for him to build his different hotels, etc. Many of them were left holding the bags. And for that, he stole from them. He, as his wife was pregnant, he was messing around with call girls, if you will. Again, think about it. And his reward was to become president of the United States. And too many are still not holding him accountable. So we can start right at the top where we see we have given some people a pass to do us wrong. And at the same time, we continue to suffer without realizing the cause of that. Now, the question is, from Leopold, have the super rich now taken control of our political and economic system? Some current news make me worry. The answer is absolutely yes, sir. Let's start with the food industry, the food cartel that includes General Mills, PepsiCo, and Tyson, which has been jacking up prices nonstop since 2020. Why are food prices up 25% since then? These giants blame supply chain, which they created and which they've outsourced, etc. The rising cost of labor, that's a lie, because the American labor, if you take a look at the cost of labor relative to the productivity increase, it's stand still. People haven't been getting more money in the aggregate. And the rising prices of other inputs required to produce and distribute their products, that's a lie. We never really had an oil shortage. What we had is a created shortage by people saying, you know what, there's a lot of oil on the market. Let Saudi Arabia produce less oil. Let's produce less products so that we can jack the price up by creating a false shortage. So they've lied to you. They've lied to you. And now many of you are saying, oh, Biden, under Biden, we got inflation. What you got was the result of what these people have done. Make no mistake. It wasn't Biden. It was the corporation. And until you understand that and believe that, we will continue to have these false realities. We can't. These giants blame supply chain and rising costs of labor and the rising prices of other inputs required to produce and distribute their products. It is not their fault, they say, but the real culprit upon closer examination is stock buybacks. By raising prices and then using the cash to buy back their own stocks, thereby increasing the market value of each share. Stock buybacks do not increase the value of a company, but they move money effortless to the largest of the street share owners and to a company's top executives who receive most of their compensation via stock investments. Again, so these guys who run these companies, they get subsidies from the government. They increase the prices on you, and then they use that extra landfill in profits not to pay taxes on the extra money they're getting, but to do something called stock buybacks. And when you buy back stocks, there are no tax consequences. So you're simply taking money out of the corporations. And guess what? And when you, the individual who got that stock buyback, go ahead and realize the stock gains from that stock buyback, guess what happens? They pay a lower tax rate than you, the person who was working. Yet so many of us defend the system. Yet so many of us continue to put our heads in the sand as opposed to realizing who the culprits are. Oh, it's Biden under inflation. I did better under Trump. First of all, from a mathematical standpoint, that is not true. That is a provable lie. That is a provable lie. They tell you, and then we repeat. So many of us instantiate that, and we believe it, and then we go say, "Oh, Biden did this," but I'm sorry. It simply is not true. Look at your stock options for those who have stocks. Look at your 401k for those who have 401ks. And of course, for the most who have none of that, they pay the price for the pilfer. As food prices shot up 25%, the 10 largest grocery and restaurant brands have together returned a pledge to return more than $77 billion to shareholders. So here we go. All these companies that are supplying your grocery store, they raised their prices by a bunch. And they told their shareholders, guess what we're going to do for you, folks, shareholders? We are going to give you $77 billion in stock, not only stock appreciation, but actually dividends. And that dividend come from us making more money. And that us making more money come from us inflating prices. It's called inflation. No. It's not called inflation. It's corporate greed rate. All right. Don't call it inflation. Call it what it is. Corporate greed rate. So they told their shareholders, we are going to give you $77 billion. So every time you say you're mad that your prices in the grocery store is going up, every time you are mad at Biden by saying, why is it so expensive? Remember, these companies promised their shareholders an additional $77 billion. Whose money is that? That's yours. That is that extra money you're paying for eggs, for cheese, for lettuce. Because the farmer and the guy picking the lettuce, he's not making any more money, but the shareholder was promised $77 billion. And guess what? He or she is getting it. You know? He or she is getting it. Don't be fooled. Let's be smart. In related news, California fast food giants have claimed that state's 2023 minimum wage law, which raised wages from $16 to $20 in California, killed 10,000 jobs. Oh my God, raising wages killed jobs. Oh, so what should we do? We should not give people more money to give them a living wage just so that employers can employ more people. But, even that was a lie. A closer look picked up by the Los Angeles Times showed that the industry cooked the numbers. They lied to you by comparing employment in September with December. But every year, September is within the peak dining out season, and in December, people dine out least. When adjusted for seasonal variations or compared with the employment levels exactly 1 year earlier, both standard ways of measuring employment levels, guess what, my dear brothers and sisters? The numbers of jobs actually increased by 7,000 after the minimum wage law was enacted. In other words, they raised the minimum wage in California. And unlike the lie from the corporatocracy that said 10,000 jobs were lost, the reality is 7,000 jobs were gained. And it's not hard to understand why. If you are paying people more, the people who get paid more are the people who will spend that money immediately. As they spend that money immediately, guess what it does? It increases economic activity, and increased economic activity means you need more workers to cover that increased economic activity. It's not rocket science. It is just how things work. But they lie to you, and too many believe it. Boeing recently crashed into the news again. When company CEO Dave Calhoun was roasted by a couple of congressional committees about its shoddy production processes, there were plenty of outraged performances, but none of the so self-righteous lawmakers had the cojones to ask about the impact on safety of Boeing's $61 billion in stock buybacks, or about Calhoun, who hauled in $30 million in stock incentives while Boeing lost $1.6 billion in 2023. It is possible that maybe, just maybe, Boeing financed those buybacks by laying off workers, moving work to lower wage subcontractors, and cutting safety corners. Radio silence from Congress. Yeah, they wanted to roast this guy from Boeing, but at the same time, the capitalist structure that created the crash in Boeing, those plane crashes because of cut costs, that door flying open because you go to substandard services so that you can pay your stockholders more, so that you can have stock buybacks, so that you can have all these things. Come on, folks. They have been snowing you for a very long time. They have your eyes off the ball. They have you thinking about all the things that you don't need to think about, even as they pilfer you. Is the worker revolt going to happen? Or are we going to keep this false notion about the MAGA versus this and all? Look, you know why MAGA is MAGA? They're looking for answers too, because they know something is up. Unfortunately, they had the wrong man to ride, because they are riding somebody who pilfered them. But they're looking. They are looking. All of us need to be looking. All of us need to be doing the right thing. Then there's the way Wall Street squeezes out new home buyers by gobbling up houses and turning them into rentals. Let's not forget that John Deere recently announced moving jobs from the United States to Mexico, while feasting on government contracts and, of course, using job cuts to finance what again? Stock buyback. So we have Wall Street that's buying up homes. You go to any community with middle price homes, and you know what? You see a lot of empty homes, a lot of homeless, but a lot of empty homes. Why are they empty? They have owners, corporate owners, and they have the ability to keep these homes off the market. If they keep these homes off the market, what happens? The price of rentals go up because there is a shortage of homes, because there's a false scarcity by those who just hold on to these homes. And it's happening everywhere, from Atlanta, Georgia, to Houston, Texas, to everywhere. And you want to know why the prices of these homes are going skyrocketing? Get ready for the bubble to burst, folks. And then they're going to be coming back for some more corporate welfare when that occurs. Do we even have to mention how Big Pharma is charging us more than it does? Canadians, I mean, imagine that. Where is the glory, glory, hallelujah? Where is I love America? Where is we think America first? That's what they like to say, right? We care about America, but you know what? Big Pharma sells their drugs at a good price in Canada. They sell their drugs at good prices in France. They sell their drugs at good prices in Great Britain. Good prices everywhere but the United States. They pilfer you, and you support them. You support the big orange man that is there, that says as soon as he gets into office, he's promised the oil industry another $1 billion. He's promised the pharmaceuticals something else. He's promised all these rich people that are now giving him $50 million here, $25 million there, $10 million here, that he's going to serve them first. He claims he's going to give something to the workers for the restaurant industry. I'm not going to tax your tips. No, you don't need to tax your tips. You need to get rid of tips and tell these guys to pay these guys a living wage instead of the $2.13 an hour they make. Do we have to mention Big Pharma again? The ripoff to feed their profits, which then gets shipped to the richest of the rich via stock buybacks. Of the $3 trillion in after-tax U.S. corporate profits in 2022, about $1.31 trillion, about half, went to stock buybacks. That creates nothing. Remember, stock buybacks used to be illegal. But Reagan allowed tax buybacks, and since then they have pilfered us. Since then, our productivity have gone through the roof, but our wages have stayed stagnant. Not until we had this new type of progressive input that Brother Biden actually brought in because of the stimuli, etc., did we start to see some of this being mitigated. But since Reagan, there has not been really a real increase in the aggregate on your wages. There has not been. Corporate welfare, just hearing what phrases makes me nauseous because it's a stark reminder of how feeble we are. Progressives have been complaining about government giveaways to large corporations at least since 1970s, and the practice has only grown. I'll bet you already know how bad it is. We taxpayers give the oil industry about $20 billion a year. And guess what? Another billion is being promised a year in subsidies, while BP, Shell, Chevron, ExxonMobil, and Total Energies plow $104 billion in dividend and stock buybacks. Think about this. This is the money in excess of operation. This is money in excess of executive pay. This is money in excess of all these things, an extra $104 billion in stock buybacks, and we're giving them more money in subsidies. Think about that, folks. Greed. Is it ever enough? No. Wall Street may be getting as much as $800 million a day via the Federal Reserve, according to one report. You ever heard of quantitative easing? I have yet to find a credible source that adds it all up. I'm guessing it's well over $1 trillion a year in direct subsidies, tax breaks, and financial markets. Talking about welfare, they talk about the welfare mom or welfare dad who people get pissed off because I saw them put a stake in that cart, and then they paid with food stamps. You know who's getting the most food stamps and your money? The corporations are. And the money, and it is quantifiable and verifiable. And we allow it. We fight each other. We fight the welfare recipient. We look at them with disdain. Working class revolt, folks, is ultimately what's going to come. The pitchforks. We're nowhere near any kind of organized mass uprising, but American workers are not stupid. They may not be able to spell out in detail how they're getting ripped off, but they know it's happening. Most importantly, they understand that the government works for the rich and not them. That's why so many are willing to support a train-wrecking outsider who attack the government, even when they are anti-worker billionaire buffoons. In 1964, 77% of Americans had trust in the federal government. Now it's 16%. 16% of us don't trust we the people. And you know why? Because we the people continuously allow the rich to snow us into electing buffoons. And in so doing, they pilfer us. And then we say, oh my God, look how bad it is. Well, it's in your hands. And in November, again, it is in your hands. It is in your hands. What makes the debate so upsetting is the litany of lies that Donald Trump told were so easily and should be flowing off of the tongue of anybody that's running or that comes out there to challenge Donald Trump. And that is what we wanted to see President Biden do on Thursday. The litany of lies were easy to debunk, and you didn't have to spend all of the times debunking them. First of all, his staff should have done the following. Come out there and whenever for the lies, I had a better employment. No, my employment was this. Your employment was in the doghouse. And folks, go to Joe Biden or go to this independent website and see that right now. www.. Now, let me tell you what I'm going to do going forward. When it comes to crime rate, the migrant crime is skipped. I tell you what, before I go into this narrative, listen to how easily all the lies of Donald Trump was debunked in under 6 minutes. These large lies debunked in under 6 minutes. Something that Biden could do over and over and over again, especially in the format of this debate. should have been prepared to do it in this debate, not timidly, but forcefully. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Let's start, Steve, with Donald Trump's claim about Joe Biden's record on jobs. Take a look.
The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Steve Ratner, what's the reality?
Donald Trump rather committed more than 30 lies during the campaign. Fact check. I don't know how to fact check. I didn't sleep with a porn star, so we picked some other things to talk about. This is a good place to start, which is jobs. And so this notion that the only jobs Joe Biden created were so-called bounce back jobs is ridiculous. So let me show it to you as clearly as I know how to do. So here are the job numbers before the pandemic. We had over 150 million jobs. The pandemic hit. Obviously, we lost a lot of jobs. We started coming back. And you can see that in June of 2022, so a year and a half into President Biden's term, we basically got back to the pre-pandemic level. So these are, you want to call these bounce back jobs, you can call these bounce back jobs. But here's what happened after June of 2022. We added 6.2 million jobs to this economy. And so these are jobs that were created unambiguously under Joe Biden's watch. And here's something even more interesting, which is the job creation of both President Biden and Donald Trump making the right adjustments for COVID. If you take out the impact of COVID, Donald Trump created 182,000 jobs a month on average. If you do the same thing for Biden, take out COVID, he created 276,000 jobs per month, so way more jobs per month than Donald Trump created. And by the way, more than were created under President Clinton, President Obama, and so forth. It's one of the strongest job creation records in history.
So there's also Trump's claim about the largest tax cut in history. Take a look at what he said.
What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on.
And Steve, what are the actual facts?
The actual facts is that Donald Trump's tax cut, sorry, I keep confusing. Donald Trump's tax cut is nowhere near as large, the largest in history. And you can see here some of the largest tax cuts in history. The famous Ronald Reagan tax cut of 1981. President Obama had 2 tax cuts during his watch. This tax cut, which actually was passed in 1964, we call it the Kennedy tax cut because he was trying for it. And here's President Trump all the way down here, Donald Trump all the way down here with the TCJA at 0.6% measured against GDP, which is the proper way to measure tax cuts. And then he talks about how he was ready to start paying down the debt. This is completely laughable. The deficit was actually going up even before COVID hit because of Donald Trump's tax cut. And so when you put it all together, Donald Trump added $4.8 trillion of non-COVID, again, we're trying to adjust for COVID, $4.8 trillion of non-COVID debt to our national debt. Joe Biden has added $2.2 trillion of non-COVID debt to our national debt in roughly the same period of time. And so the deficit and debt record between these two guys is, again, not even close.
And one more thing, there were many, but we'll just do these. Donald Trump also had this to say about crime connected to immigration. Take a listen.
He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before.
Steve, what's the reality about the rat's nest that we are living in?
You know, Trump's ability to lie with a completely straight face and to say things that just are absolutely factually inaccurate without even blinking is quite amazing. So let's talk about overall crime first. First of all, and I'm using violent crime here as a proxy, but you'd see similar things at other kinds of crime. First of all, crime really didn't even go down much under President Trump. It went down a little bit, it went up. You can say this was COVID, but basically no change in crime. Under President Biden, here's what's happened to violent crime. It's gone from 398 per 100,000 people, the rate of crime, down 26%. 294. This is an extrapolation of what this year will look like if present trends continue. A huge drop in crime this year. And so the record on crime overall between these two guys, again, isn't even close. So he's talking also about migrant crime. Let's talk about migrant crime, because this is something most people don't appreciate, which is that the rate of crime committed by both legal immigrants and undocumented immigrants is actually lower than that of U.S.-born citizens. So here is the crime rate for violent crime, a bit over 200. For U.S.-born citizens, it drops down for legal immigrants. And if you're an undocumented immigrant, you actually have one of the lowest crime rates. And among the reason for that is not that surprising in a way. If you're an undocumented immigrant and you don't want to get deported, you're pretty unlikely to commit a crime because that's not going to lead to a great outcome for you. But in any event, you see the same trends in property crime and in drug violations. Immigrants who come here, whether they're documented or whether undocumented, commit crimes at a lower rate than native-born Americans. That has been studied many times. This is a Texas study. You can find it anywhere else in the data. Those are the facts.
Now, you ask about the crime rate. Migrant crime is so bad. Donald Trump, do remember that the crime rate went up during your administration, and it is way down comparatively in my administration. And then as well, the migrant crime that you talk about is much less than immigrant crime, as well as the crimes of the United States citizens, which are the highest of them all. Please, let's be factual. Why don't you tell your people the truth, Donald Trump, when it comes to I had the largest tax cut in American history. Biden could have said, you did not. By the way, folks, go to www.xyz.com and see what the real numbers are. But let's just give you some perspective. Both Obama and Reagan had much bigger tax cuts relative to GDP than Donald Trump, bar none. Okay, let's go to as far as inflation is concerned. Well, Mr. Trump, you are the ones who raised tariffs on China, which caused those particular products to increase in price. That's your doing, Mr. Trump. And likewise, Mr. Trump, you are the one who mismanaged COVID, which also instituted what we had as a supply chain problem because of the policies that you passed that allows all our jobs to go overseas, that allows all these other things to occur. So, I mean, it was an effective presidential candidate and a president that has the realms, that holds the reins of the country, should be able to go out there a mano and slight this guy. And that's why they came into the debate fearing. They thought that's what they were going to get. And they knew they would have lost if we had a Kamala Harris or we had a Gavin Newsom. They're doing it. I think we have to be very smart because, again, 51 million people, that was a huge loss. It doesn't matter what we do in these different campaign rallies going forward. Nobody's going to see that. Very few people are going to see that. Partisans see the rallies. Everybody was focused on that debate when we had 51 million people seeing 33% of the electorate. Unfortunately, I don't even think about a second debate because I can't see. And I am a supporter of my brother Biden because he saved this country. He passed great progressive policies, but it's always country first. Country first. The American people first. I don't see any possibility of a better debate.
You know, we like to do local stories as well as national and international stories. Today we have a special one because there is a great group in this city, the Houston Peace and Justice Center, that has a peace camp every single year. And today we're honored to have Angel Ramirez, who is the director of the Houston Peace and Justice Center Peace Camp. He's also an educator, born and raised in Houston. And of course, you know, he does other things. He's a writer. He goes ahead and he's an athletic instructor and all the works. I tell you what, why don't we let El Señor Ramirez tell us a little bit about himself. First, before we get started, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, thank you, Herberto, for having me this morning. I am very pleased to let you guys know about the Peace Camp happening this summer, and also a little bit about myself. I am an educator, recently let go here in Houston. There's a lot of stuff happening in Houston and HISD. And I was one of those educators that actually was released of his duties this past year. But I'm not going to let that stop me from doing great things and reaching the masses and helping kids and helping other adults and educators just feel that peace, love, and justice here in Houston. I've been in education for I want to say about 10 years now. I started in 2015, and I actually created a class based on the concept of Peace Camp. And so my class was a social emotional learning space, and I was allowed to do yoga, meditation. I was allowed to teach kids about how to regulate their emotions, how to understand and have a vocabulary to understand other emotions, compassion, empathy, just love through art, music, dance. That's kind of who I am. I am an artist in many ways. I'm a dancer. I've been, all over Houston teaching salsa, merengue, bachata, cumbia, country and western line dance, and I get to teach the kids that too.
Así que tú puedes hacerlo todo.
Todito todo, así que
Eso es lo que veo. Okay, so keep on, my brother. Tell me some more.
Yeah, so the class that I had was, at Herrera Elementary here in the Houston's North Side, and up until I said about a month ago, I was looking forward to a summer of Peace Camp, and just things changed for me, and so now Peace Camp is going to be my primary focus. I'm also in a new sort of like adventure. I'm getting certified through the Breathe for Change organization to be a yoga, meditation, and mindfulness facilitator. So I'm getting certified in yoga, which is a new love of mine. And I'm also going to be certified in sound healing through sound bowls and tuning forks and, those kind of things to sort of help people find that peace and that ability to want to heal and to just feel the good vibrations. And that's what I'm all about. I'm just about good vibes and connecting others to those vibes. So,
well, it seems to me that the Houston Peace and Justice Center has just the right person directing our peace camp that's held yearly. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing in Peace Camp? I tell you what, first of all, why don't you tell the audience what is Peace Camp and how they can actually, and who qualifies to be a part of Peace Camp and how they can be a part of it?
Absolutely. So Peace Camp is happening this summer. We've already had one camp that was held in South Houston at the Servants of Christ Church, and we are now looking at having two more in July, and that's why I'm here. We actually would love to invite you and anyone who is listening to be a part of it. We're going to have the July dates are coming up. I'm trying to pull them up right now on my phone because I have that information right in front of me. Excuse me. So yes, so that was July 8th through the 12th. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's going to be held at the Houston Mennonite Church.
And where is that?
That's going to be basically off of I-10 and Wirt Road. So in the Spring Branch area. That's like not far from IKEA Houston.
Right.
And so in that little area, of town, we're going to be hosting the 2 peace camps that we have left this summer. And then the second peace camp is going to be July. Let me make sure I get the dates right, because I'm just waking up. So good morning to everybody. July 20, looking at my calendar really quick, my phone's acting really silly now. July 22nd through the 26th. And that's going to be actually a teen camp. The first camp is going to be for what I call the littles. And that's going to be anyone from going into the first grade to 6th grade. So those children that are going to be participating that are in 1st through 6th can be with us there at camp from July 8th through the 12th. And then the bigs, or the teens, are going to be from the 22nd to the 26th. And that's anybody from 7th grade to high school seniors. And we're trying to just sort of like offer an experience that's going to be age appropriate and give the kids, the things that they're interested in, and still giving them a space where they can have fun and do like summer type things. It's a summer camp. It's not a sleepover camp. It's basically you bring the kids over at around 8:30, 9 a.m. We get them a little breakfast snack, and then we just start our day. And our day is composed of these different type of themes and topics. Last camp, we talked about seeds of change, and how we have to see ourselves as seeds of peace, where we're going to basically plant little seeds, and as we grow into our beautiful flowers and trees that are ourselves, we're bringing about change through peace, justice, environmentalism. Talking about, we use, anything from music, popular songs, to introduce kids to these concepts. And then we go into, activities. We had a beautiful experience learning about gardening and learning about how seeds themselves germinate and become flowers, and what we have to do in our part, as far as gardeners go and growers, to help that growth. And then we kind of use that as the symbol to talk about us growing in our understanding to change things. And so anything from what it means to stand up for, the rights of others and yourself, how to be a peaceful person, and to basically find that inside of yourself. And then we just also did games. I'm a big kid. I love to play. So we're definitely going to have lots of fun stuff like, frisbees and, soccer. And, it's really hot. So we figured out a way to do all these things inside, so that we can definitely take care of ourselves and take care of the kids, to make sure no one gets, sucked up by the sun and all of its heat, because it's so hot here in Houston.
Well, I tell you what, let me just, for the people that are listening, let me just say there are going to be 2 weeks of Peace Camp. The first week is July 8th through July 12th, and that is for kids the ages of 6 years old through 6th grade. And that will be held again July 8th through July 12th. Now, it is, the location for that is 1231 Wirt Road. It is 1231 Wirt Road. And you can sign up by going to hpjc.org. That is the Houston Peace and Justice Center website. It's hpjc.org. On the front page, it's the first thing on the page for you to go ahead and click to sign up for Peace Camp. The other one that El Señor Ramirez was talking about is July 22nd through July 26th, and that covers grade 7th through 12th, and it's at the same location, 1231 Wirt Road. As you can hear from Angel right now, it's going to be a fun time for both the kiddos and the older kiddos. So let's go ahead and make sure that we sign up by going to hpjc.org. Go ahead, Senor Ramirez.
Yeah, and another thing that we definitely want to push is that there are plenty of spaces available, and more than anything, there are scholarships available. So if there are kids at home doing nothing, sitting on their phones, or sleeping or watching TV, why not basically give them a chance to explore these beautiful concepts through, educational type things that can help sort of nourish that part of the brain that is needing so much sort of connection. And so the scholarships are available through the Houston Peace and Justice Center. And if you apply basically for either one, the July 8th or the July 22nd camp, you can get a full, ride scholarship, to be able to attend these camps. And all we ask is that you just kind of, pack a lunch for them, but we provide them with snacks and just pick them up at 3:00 and drop them off at 9 a.m. And we'll take care of the rest. And so it's really just a beautiful space. And we have a nurse on hand to always make sure that the kids are safe. The two fellow educators are going to be helping assist with the activities, with the music, with the art projects. And we have just again the experience of wanting to connect to these concepts of inclusion, equality, conflict resolution. We talk about lots of different type of topics and things that are going to be coming up, but most of all we do it through music, arts, crafts, meditation. I'm getting to do a lot of that with them. So we're yoga, we're going to be doing a daily yoga, and then of course we're going to be dancing, because that's what I do. I dance. And so the kids get to learn firsthand how to just to love and to express themselves through music and dance and movement.
Look, Angel Ramirez, I want to thank you for being here again. I want to remind everybody that for kids ages 6 through 6th grade, it is between July 8th and 12th. It's those 5 days. Sign up at hpjc.org. The location is going to be 1231 Wirt Road. All the information will be there at the HPJC website. And if your kids are between 7th grade and 12th grade, it will be July 22nd through July 26th. What better way to have your kid have a learning experience for 5 days at a peace camp, one run by El Director Angel Ramirez. So I tell you folks, please go ahead, go to hpjc.org and sign up. Give me a quick closer, Angel.
A quick what?
A quick closer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So again, we would love to see, the kids, and also just that free scholarship. So you don't have to worry about price wise, just, being able to bring them over to us and we'll take care of the rest. And so we want to plant these seeds of change and create a space in Houston for these very important things. And that is peace, justice, love, and so much more. So please join us this summer.
Angel Ramirez, Director of the Houston Peace and Justice Center Peace Camp. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you. Gracias a ustedes. Y'all have a great day.
Muchísimas gracias, hermano.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, as